Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
Trying to close the show. She was doing a great job of feeding. That is over.
Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks? Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Oh, wow. That was fun. Finally. I guess I kind of forgot, right? I guess I kind of forgot how much Milwaukee, sucked, right? I mean, I know the storyline last year was brutal. They fire Griffin. They bring in Doc. Nothing changes. Doc Rivers is living off that super team from 2008, and it's been really brutal for him as a head coach since. It doesn't look like that team is a championship team, that Bucks team. Their defense is terrible. I think losing Holiday, a while back obviously hurt them defensively. Giannis, I saw him in the post-game interview, talking to somebody, if you don't want to be here, then leave. Body language, he just looks like he's checked out. Him and Dame, that dynamic has not exactly panned out. Not that they were they didn't even ask to play with each other, right? Dame wanted to go to Miami. They ended up flying him to Milwaukee. Giannis, I don't think he wants to stay there. It's kind of been obvious, the comments he's made in the last couple of years. That team's a mess. Or they got I shouldn't say they're a mess, but I mean, so far they're 2-7, and they've been a disaster under Doc Rivers. But they've got the potential to be a mess. They still have the upside to get it together. But I guess when I was concerned over the Knicks last game about this Bucks team, saying that they could easily lose to them, maybe I underestimated just how bad this Bucks team is looking right now. But for the Knicks, wow, that was fun. That was far and away the best win of the season. The Knicks were dominant from the very start of the game. Really, it was by the time the second half came, early third quarter, pretty much garbage time after that. They were up by as many as 30 in the game, and they end up winning 116-94. Midway through the fourth quarter, Doc empties the bench. A little bit after that, Tibbs finally does. So the Knicks get a 116-94 win at the Garden. They dominate in all aspects of the game. I mean, 3-point shooting. They were 48-41 on the glass, 35-20 in assists. They only had 7 turnovers to Milwaukee's 12. You just go across the board, and they did a very good job controlling this game the entire way. And I think you have to start with how good this offense is looking right now. It all clicked last night. The offensive fluidity was on point. Last night, the ball movement, the ball and man movement, right? I mean, the Knicks had 35 assists on their 43 makes. So that's do the math. That's an 81% rate, give or take, I think. I mean, that's pretty good. They had 4 starters with 5+ assists. You know, Brunson with if you don't look in the box score and you watch this game, it's a very big game for Brunson. He had a great game, I thought. You know, I thought obviously the big theme this season so far has been him trusting his teammates, and I thought he did exactly that. Trusting the weapons that he has around him. He had 9 assists to no turnovers. But, I mean, he was getting everybody involved from the very get-go. He hit OG Anunoby early on in the game. He was finding Deuce McBride a couple times in the corner. One where Brunson comes off pick and roll on the other side of the floor, and he hits Deuce weak side. And then another where he finds him off of a Jericho down screen to free up Deuce in the corner. Catch and shoot 3. I thought he looked really good with Towns. Those two displaying that the chemistry, the upside that they have. That 2-man game between Brunson and Towns, I mean, that was on display the entire night. Early in the first quarter, he hits Towns in a pick and pop off stagger with Towns and Hart. Ends up being a Towns 3. A little later in the period, he gets Towns going downhill in transition as a trailer. Middle of the second quarter, Milwaukee tries to ice the pick and roll. Brunson ends up hitting Towns down the lane. You know, late second quarter, he hits him with a pick and roll pocket pass down low on the baseline area. Early second half, I don't know the name of the set, but it was really nice where Brunson rejects a stagger between Hart and Cat again. He drives left, and then he hits Cat on the late roll as the trailer. I really like the way Brunson was facilitating, getting his teammates involved, which has been a theme this year as he struggled to find his shot. And Towns displaying his passing as a big man. You know, he finishes the game with 5 assists to 2 turnovers. But it's the passing from different angles, right? I mean, he had a couple of Jokic-type flashy passes from the low post where he's just flicking the ball from up behind his head. He's passing in traffic. He had an impressive outlet dime to Deuce McBride. He had a nice pass to Brunson when he gave it back to him in pick and roll. I don't know the name of the set or if it was a specific set, but it impressed me. I think that was in the third quarter. The wing passing, the passing from the Knick wings was very good too. Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart. Hart had 7 assists, OG 5, Mikal 3. You know, OG Anunoby, we'll talk about his defense, but offensively, while he didn't shoot well, he was moving the ball very nicely. You know, he found McBride from the post early on in the game. I absolutely loved there was a possession in the middle of the third quarter. Brunson drives past Giannis Antetokounmpo, makes a shuffle pass to OG on the wing. OG swings it to Josh Hart on the corner, 1 pass away. Hart knocks down the 3. You know, he was getting Mikal Bridges involved. Once on the perimeter, there was another one where he found him out of an ATO set in the mid-range. Josh Hart displaying his chemistry with Anthony Towns. I really liked what I saw there between the two of them. He was finding Towns a ton. A couple times as a trailer. Hits him in a dump down pass to the post. Really, really cool possession. I think this was also in the third quarter, I want to say, where Brunson's got the ball. He fakes the Hart screen into a reject. Driving kick to OG at the top of the key. OG hits Hart on the right elbow 3 with Green rotating off Hart to OG. And Hart makes a quick pass to Mikal in the corner. Mikal knocks down the 3. There was a lot of possessions just last night where guys were just swinging the ball around the perimeter quickly. You know, I like the way Mikal Bridges looked. You know, I think he finished with 18 points. Didn't shoot great, but I like that the Knicks were featuring in some sets, especially early on. Kind of involving him in sets that they involve RJ in. You know, he was featured in a pistol action right off the bat. But just the way the Knick offense looked in the half court last night was really everything. Like when Leon Rose built this roster, when he made the moves that he did this past offseason, this was the vision. It was this. You know, it was having this spaced out offense with player movement, right? You saw last night. A lot of relocating, a lot of spacing cuts, you know, just smart, quick decision making with the basketball. They move the ball with a purpose. And just the identity of this offense is their 3-point volume. That's going to be the key. They didn't shoot exceptionally well last night, but I love the amount of attempts they got up. They got up 46 threes, and they're going to shoot well on most nights. So once that starts clicking, once Brunson starts finding his shot, once Mikal Bridges gets into a groove, and you hope that he does, 6 first-round picks, it's going to be an elite offense, like I said. And I thought they just displayed that while also last night keeping the identity from last year, which was all about winning the possession game. Right? The Knicks were +7 on the glass. They were +16 in 3-point attempts, +8 in field goal attempts overall, +10 in second chance points. That's going to be an important part of their offense going forward. Maintaining success on the offensive glass to create those second opportunities. And, I mean, the dominance, the sheer dominance that we got last night from Karl-Anthony Towns was amazing. And that's why he's getting the game ball once again.
Bing bang.
Karl Towns last night, I mean, this was everything he was brought here to do. This is why they traded for him. And he was just out there dominating Brook Lopez. Dominating him. I was confused as to why Doc didn't adjust with Giannis in the second half. He never really did. But Cat last night, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Shoots 12 for 20, 4 for 8 from 3, 4 out of 5 at the free throw line. Just scoring in many different ways. Right? Attacking closeouts, which he's always been very good at that. With his big strides. Scoring from the roll, scoring from the pick and pop. 3-point sniping. And some of those were from long range. A couple of those in the face of the defense. When Milwaukee went to a drop coverage, he'd beat that. You know, he was scoring, again, as a trailer in transition multiple times, which that's another skill that he's always been good at. And the Knicks' pace last night was perfect for that. Getting Towns downhill in momentum, which is just a terror for a backtracking defense. Forcing Lopez to help in the gaps early on and just dominating. Scoring from the post when they were in half-court sets. He's such a dynamic scorer because he's got the skills, the athleticism, the size. It's just so much ground to cover. You know, he's a guy who forces the defense to make tough decisions and forces the defense to sacrifice in one area because you got to focus on this. That's who Towns is. That's why he's arguably the best shooting big of all time. And he continues to just get off to a very good start. He's gotten hot here in these last 5 or so games. 3 game balls on the season for Cat. And on the year, his numbers are looking very sharp, as you could see on the screen. 24 points per game, 13 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. He's shooting 53% from the floor, 56% from 3, 90% at the foul line. He's a +3 across 8 games. So he's been awesome. And that's now 3 game balls. 3 bing bong game balls for Karl-Anthony Towns to start this season. Guys, I also thought the Knicks defense bounced back, and that obviously it's always going to start and end with their wings. Right, the Wings had a tough time defensively last game against Atlanta. But the Knicks bounced back defensively. I know this is the Bucks, and they've gotten off to a slow start offensively, but they're a potent offensive team, and you held them to 94 points. You've got 2 Hall of Famers in their peak, and you contained them very well. You know, you allowed some points in the paint, but, you know, Giannis had 21. Dame Lillard only took 4 3-point attempts. That's a win. You kept Milwaukee off the 3-point line. You forced them into some contested 3-point attempts. You know, Mikal Bridges, we talked about how it all starts with him doing the job at the point of attack. I thought he did an excellent job defending at the point of attack against Dame Lillard. He wasn't really getting baited into any foul bullshit. He was staying disciplined. High contests, showing an early hand when Dame was in long range. Staying with Dame on drives, forcing him off the line. He picked up a block early on him. I thought even better than Mikal Bridges was OG freaking Anunoby. The defensive masterpiece that he displayed. He was everywhere last night. He was everywhere. He this is why he's so valuable. You know, people talking about they overpaid him. You know, the contract, the trade they gave up. This guy is so worth it as long as he's healthy. What he does for you, simply forget about the corner shooting. He's so valuable and worth every penny and every asset you gave up simply because of how well he can defend, how smart of a defensive player he is. So many things that he does on the floor. Just the help defense, whether it's weak side help, strong side, the gap help that he brings, the deflections, contests, steals, blocks. I mean, the ability to switch, effectively switch, right? A guy who can actually guard 1 to 5. There was a possession. This was, I think, early in the second quarter. You know, I noticed it during the game, but somebody posted it. They clipped it on Twitter after, and I really got a good look at it. I mean, he was everywhere. Dame's got the ball. He helps onto Dame, recovers back to Portis in the corner, 1 pass over. Then he guards Portis one-on-one for a few seconds, forces him to pass off, switches onto Dame off the screen, guards Dame one-on-one to force a miss. Lopez tips the offensive rebound. It goes to Dame. He guards Dame one-on-one on the other side of the floor and then forces Dame to pass out mid-shot. And I think it ended up being a brick. Knicks get the ball. Just like everywhere. Everywhere. You know, and that's why the Knicks have Mikal Bridges at the point of attack so OG can provide help. You know, OG guards everybody. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. They'll have him on the back on the back line. They'll have him, you know, use him as a weak side low man coming over. He did a nice job on Giannis when he was on him, forcing misses and one-on-one at the basket, contesting shots on him from the post. Dame when he was on him. Overall, you look at the numbers, Giannis and Dame combined for 5 points on 17% shooting when Anunoby was guarding them. So he was a big part of why the Knicks defense was so outstanding last night. Josh Hart, of course, doing his thing. So I thought their defense was, it bounced back brilliantly, and it started on the wings. Second unit, Deuce McBride gets another game ball.
Bing
hey, man, Deuce keeps doing his thing. 14 points, 5 rebounds last night. He continues to be super aggressive on the three-point arc, which is a big key. Without Deuce launching away out there, the Knicks aren't in some of these games. You know, he went through a little bit of a rut for a couple games where he couldn't buy a bucket, but nice bounce back last night, and he's going to be key for this offense. And defense, obviously. 7 game balls now in 8 games for Deuce. He continues to be strong for this team. And as you could see on the screen, if you're watching the video format of the podcast, he's averaging 12 points on 45%, 42% from 3 this year. And doing this all in 27 minutes continues to provide some excellent defense. And while we're on the topic of the bench, Jericho Sims, I thought, played well, of course. I shouldn't say of course, because he's taking heat for being pretty shit this year. But I thought Sims played well. The screening was good. He had some rough defensive moments, but the rebounding was there. You know, I thought Tyler Kolek even was pretty good. Hey, I'm interested to see where this Kolek storyline goes. I know a lot of Knicks fans want to see him play as a rotation player. He had 8 points last night, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. And you know, you watched, maybe Tibbs is kind of showing some trust in him now. I thought it was interesting last night. He got 16 minutes. He was left on the floor for a very long time in that first half. He gave him some extended run. I know Tibbs likes guys who hustle. Kolek is a guy who makes hustle plays. So I'm very curious to see what happens when Cam Payne returns from his hamstring injury. Does Kolek go back to the end of the bench? Or does Tibbs stick with him and he's this rotational player as a backup point guard, and where you can have Deuce play off ball more as that, you know, off wing role? Because Kolek's, he's been giving you a lot, man. He shoots the ball exceptionally well. He's a knockdown shooter. He's off to an incredibly hot start. Knocked down 2 more threes last night. Yeah, Tibbs has been playing him alongside other ball handlers like Brunson and Deuce. So he's getting efficient off-ball looks. But he's also getting some on-ball point guard time. And when he's playing point guard, the ball moves very well because he's a good passer. He's got the vision. He can play at any pace. Kind of reminds me of TJ McConnell. Not saying he's going to eventually become TJ McConnell, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was that type. Backup point guard. You know, nothing crazy. He's small. He's not the most athletic, so that's always going to hurt an NBA player defensively that way, but I think there's a role for him in the future, man. And I would love for Tibbs to show him some more trust. And, you know, for however long Cam Payne is out, I'm all for Kolek getting these minutes and maybe forcing Tibbs' hand eventually. But that's it. We're going to head to break, get back, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up next with this Knicks team. Stay with us. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Hey there. Thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4. If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
Okay. So the Knicks win 116-94 last night. And they improved to 4-4. I think that has them third in the Eastern Conference right now. It's really just Boston, Cleveland. But at the moment, they've got Indiana tomorrow night. It's at Cambridge. It's a 5 p.m. game. So that's interesting. But yeah, Indiana's also off to a slow start. They're in 6th place. They just recently, I think it was yesterday, got blown out by Charlotte in the second half. This was a game where Halliburton scored just 6 points. So hopefully the Knicks can hold them to even less like last time where they held them to a 0 spot. The bum. After Indiana, they go to Philly for a Tuesday game, the first of a back-to-back. It's also the first cup game of the year. It's a group play game, the first one. And then they have what should be an easy homestand after that. They have 4 games at the Garden in a row, where they've got Chicago on Wednesday. That's, again, the second of a back-to-back. And they've got the Nets twice in a row, Friday, Sunday. And then they wrap up that homestand against the Wizards Monday. So that's also a back-to-back. So tomorrow you got Indiana. So that's what's on the schedule right now. Would love to beat that team again. You did it at the Garden. Let's go do it at Cambridge. So with that said, we're going to wrap it up with our trivia question in just a second. We'll be right back. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 741 of the podcast. I appreciate you all joining. Thank you for listening to BD4, or maybe you're watching this episode of BD4. Thank you for tuning in to BD4. Let's wrap this up with our trivia question of the day here in episode 741 of BD4. And our question of the day, our trivia for this episode, is: the last Knicks-Bucks matchup to go to overtime was December 1st, 2018. Who won that game? All right. So the last Knicks-Bucks matchup to go to overtime was December 1st, 2018. Who won that game? So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I'll give you a shout out in the next show. Folks, that will do it for this episode. 741 in the books. I'll see you in 742, where we'll be talking Knicks Pacers. Hopefully talking about a win to improve the Knicks to 5-4. And that's that, folks. I appreciate it all, as always, and I'll see you soon. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees, and go Knicks!